This is an interview with Mr. Alton W. Yates, Chairman of the FCCJ District Board of Trustees, March 14th, 1989. Okay. I'd like to get a couple of things, Alton, before we get into anything about the board and so forth. You are a native of Jacksonville, you said?
That's correct.
And what is your function up here in the mayor's office? I should know that.
I am senior administrative assistant to the mayor, and my area of responsibility is community affairs and minority affairs.
Specializing in community affairs
and minority affairs.
I guess a good question to start off with, Alton, is do you see any linkage or connection between this job and your chairman of the district board?
Oh, there's no question about it. Florida Community College, in my opinion, is probably one of the greatest assets the city of Jacksonville has. Government here works very closely with the private sector in trying to develop jobs for our people. We work very closely with the educational system in trying to provide an educated clientele for the businesses whom we are interested in having relocate to Jacksonville. So being involved in community affairs, being involved in the mayor's office and recognizing the awesome responsibilities of this office, especially when it comes to the well-being of the total community, certainly has a direct linkage with my role as chairman of the board of Florida Community College and my role as a board member at Florida Community College. I think they go very well together. We are inseparable, in my opinion. And of course, the mayor has always been a strong advocate for education. And through the assistance of his education council, which incidentally Dr. Spence chairs,
right.
Of course, he is well on the way toward leading a fight against illiteracy in the city of Jacksonville. What we would hope to accomplish as a result of his efforts is to make sure that every individual in our city, regardless of age, who wants a job, has the education, the training, and the wherewithal to be able to get and hold a job. We want to be able to say to the business community that Jacksonville is an attractive place for your business. We can provide entry-level trained employees, and we can provide training for your existing employees through Florida Community College. And of course, we do that. I think we do a much better job of that than any other institution that I'm aware
of. Getting directly now into the board itself, Alton, how long have you been on the board of trustees?
I've been on the board since 1982.
And then you assumed the chairmanship.
This is my first year as chairman of the board.
What kind of changes, or what is your perception over this almost 7-year period now, as far as the board's functions, its perspective, its outlook? Do you have any insights on that you might want to share?
Well, I think the board is perhaps a little more involved in the affairs of the college now than it was when I first served on the board. The then chairman had been chairman of the board for a good number of years, probably 8 or 9 years or more. And I think the board had gotten sort of accustomed to his playing the leadership role and had been sort of accustomed to simply listening to reports that came from the staff and the management of the college. But now there is much more involvement. The board, through its committee structures, looks at just about every aspect of the college. We're involved in the development of the strategic plan for the college. And I think that's critically important. We interact with students as well as faculty and administrators at the college. So I think we have a much better understanding of the function of the college. And I believe by being in a position to interact with all of those whom the college serves, it gives us better feel for how the college is meeting its responsibility to those people.
Yeah, you mentioned this strategic planning. Can you get a little bit more specific about how the board is actually dealing with that?
Yeah, well, for example, we spent a weekend in a retreat session to go over the various elements in the strategic plan to decide what we wanted to incorporate in that plan, what our priorities would be, and then to set the administration on a course of developing and bringing into fruition those elements that we thought should be utmost important to the college. And as a result of that, I think for the next 5 years, you will begin to see the college moving in the direction of achieving the objectives that it has set out in the plan.
Would you care to share objective 1 and objective 2?
Well, the most important objective is for as I'm concerned, is the degree of responsibility that we place on teachers. And I wish I could think of exactly how we worded that. Valued employees, I think, is the way it is worded. FCCJ value its employees. We recognize from that if we pay proper attention to the employees, then the persons that those employees are there to serve, the student body, which is what FCCJ is all about, will be served to the best of our ability, and we will therefore be able to achieve our objective. Unless there is emphasis placed on meeting the needs of our employees, then I think what you wind up with are employees who are so concerned about what is not being done for them until they're not able to focus on the reason why they are there, and that is to provide quality education for our students.
So the first goal is in the next 5 years is to put more value on employees, faculty, and so forth, then let them know they're appreciated. Is
that is fair? And I believe that's objective number 2. That was our second objective.
That's your second objective. Okay. And your first one was?
The first one was. I should be able to rattle those off the top of my head.
Well, we can say that this is one of the top objectives. I'll let the employee know he or she is valued.
Well, of course, student success was either number 3 or number 4, but student success is the main purpose for our existence. And hopefully all of our efforts are directed toward achieving as our ultimate goal the success of every student who happens to pass through Florida Community College, whether it is a student in our adult basic education program or in our 2+2 programs.
Okay. So I was going to ask you your goals as chairman, but those would be synonymous with the goals of the whole board. So,
Yes,
you know,
they would be.
yeah. Um, since you've been here, I want to ask you if you could maybe comment since '82 to '89, some of the strengths you see. You know, we might overlap some things you've already said, or maybe not, at the college, and then some problems that you've seen in the last 7 years, and maybe some problems that we still need to overcome.
Well,
Kind
yeah,
of
there
an
are some.
evaluation of college from your
Let me talk about some of the strengths first, because I think
Okay.
sometimes when an institution has had some problems, and I don't know of any institutions in our society that hasn't had some problems somewhere in its existence. But sometimes I tend to think we dwell on the problems without giving adequate attention to some of the strong points of the institution. Florida Community College was built on a very sound and a very firm foundation, which is what allowed it to pass through that period in 1984 when it did have some very serious management problems. Had it not been for that good foundation upon which the institution was built, then I dare say that the problems would have been much worse than what they were. It is indeed unfortunate that we had the difficulty that we did, but I think out of that adversity, what we have seen emerge is a much stronger institution. Where management is concerned, I dare say that I think when we set out to find a new president for that institution, we tried to find the very best in the country. And I think we did that. I don't have any second thoughts whatsoever about number one, our selection process, and number two, what that selection process resulted in. I think Dr. Spence will, with the help of the board, carry our college into the 21st century in a way that it will be unsurpassed by any other of the 27, 28 community colleges in the state of Florida. No question about it. Problems that remain. Of course, we have had a problem attracting and retaining uh, both minority staff and minority students. That is a continuing problem, and it is one that troubles me greatly because Florida Community College ought to be seen as an institution that affords uh, an educational opportunity to anybody who desires higher education. And whether the end result of that education is determination after a 2-year degree and entry into the job market, or whether it is to go on into an upper division university, or whether it is to simply acquire a skill or to acquire a GED diploma, anyone who is interested in education ought to be able to do that at Florida Community College. I believe we've been able to keep the costs sufficiently low enough so that nobody can really say they can't afford an education. But I think the way you do that, I think you achieve that by having role models to whom some of these students can look up to and relate to and develop a desire to want to be in their presence or in the presence of the institution. Unfortunately, at Florida Community College and most of the other uh, state institutions that I have been able to visit, minority recruitment and retention of both students and faculty is it leaves a lot to be desired. And of course, we've developed a number of programs at Florida Community College aimed at the recruiting and retention of minority students. But I'm not sure that we're seeing the kind of results that we desire. Doesn't mean that we're going to give it up. It simply means that we're going to have to place much more and greater emphasis in that area. Problems in management.
Can we stay with the minority thing?
Sure.
What historically you think has been the problem? Racism. Let's speak frankly. At least in your 7 years, in other words, one of my great concerns is that, I get black students in my classes, particularly black males, and I have a difficult time retaining them. I want them to succeed. I want them to do well, and I don't know whether it's something I'm doing or what, but I share your concern there. And is there any deeper insight we can look at that might help us, retain these young men? What can we do that we haven't been doing?
I don't think it's racism. I really don't. I think the problem is that we're not starting early enough with these young men. And by that, I mean, I feel very strongly that the community college has to begin reaching out, especially to young black males in the junior high school years. They have to have these youngsters visit a community college campus so that they can begin to place somewhere in their subconscious mind the notion that a college education is possible for them. You'd be surprised at the large number of especially black males who develop the I can't do it attitude prior to reaching high school. And it's simply because they have so much difficulty finding after school employment, and they just don't see that there will be an opportunity for them to pay for or receive a college education. A vast majority of them, it's so unfortunate that such a large number of them come from single parent households where there's only a female who is perhaps trying to rear 5, 6, or 7 children. That male early on develops the notion that as soon as he can no longer be a burden on his mother, he's going to get out, he's going to leave, because he doesn't want to be a burden on his mother. And as a result of that, you have an extremely high dropout rate among young black males in junior high school and high school. And now we're beginning to see that carry on into the college age youngsters. We'll get young people who will enroll in community college, and the next thing you know, you can't find them. They're no longer there. There is a desire to make as much money as I possibly can just as quickly as I can. And I don't know how you change that attitude unless you change it before it develops into a hardened attitude. And you can't do that if you wait until that young person either gets to the community college level or wait until he's in high school. You've got to start helping to form the mindset at an earlier age, I believe.
How would you evaluate our FAME program and our new Office of Minority Recruitment?
I don't know how to evaluate the new Office of Minority Recruitment yet, because I don't think it's been in operation long enough. But the FAME program is excellent. It is ideal. It is a program that I think ought to be packaged and sold to every community college in the country because it works. I've seen it work. I've seen the results of it. I know what can happen when you can take these youngsters from high school and junior high school, and when you can get them and their parents to come to a community college campus on Saturday morning and spend the day there listening at what the college has to offer and visiting classrooms and that sort of thing. That works. That lets a
So
child
this is a
know.
junior high that are brought in. Is that part of what FAME does exactly?
Yes, yes, it exposes them early. But the other thing that it does, it brings not only the student, but it brings the parent in too. And that's good because you see, it's a shame to say this, but sometimes parents will dissuade children from thinking college, feeling that they can't afford to send. Well, I can't afford to send them. Why have them even think about college? That's the worst thing on earth.
And if the parent has no college tradition, then it's like Huckleberry Finn's father says, "What do you want to go to that school
Absolutely.
for? I want you out working.
You need to get a job.
Yeah.
You need to get a job."
Yeah.
Well, we've got to change that. And I think the way the community college is uniquely set up to deal with that sort of thing is that normally through the FAME program, we're not only reaching out for the children, we're reaching out for the parents too. And we let the parents know that there's something in the community college for you too, if you're interested. And there are times when we are able to get both school at the same time.
Alton, how's that financing work now? The student is given some money on the front end for FAME. How does that work?
I'm not sure about how the financing work. Scholarship help is available to them, but I'm not aware of any monies that are given.
Scholarship help through FAME, right?
Yes.
On the front end, more or less. I mean, when they first enroll.
No, I don't think there are any monies available at all during the FAME program. You see, they're still in high school when they get involved with the FAME program.
But aren't they earmarked when they come here?
Right.
When they finally enroll, say at 18 years old, aren't they given some scholarship money then?
Then they're eligible for scholarship help. Yes, when they're enrolled in the college.
And who are some leaders? Betty Sessions?
Betty Sessions, Geraldine Smith, Hortense Williams Gray.
Brenda Simmons, of course.
Well, she is, but Brenda wasn't as deeply involved. It was mainly Betty Sessions, Geraldine Smith, and Beverly Robinson.
Okay. Yeah, well, that covers, I think, I had a question here. How can the college better serve black students? And your point was through attracting more students themselves and more black faculty.
And you've got to expose them. Let me tell you something about the image of the college and the black community. Yeah. And we've suffered from that an awful lot. It has often been thought in the black community that the downtown campus was the black campus, that the North Campus, in a sense, was the black campus, and that Kent Campus and the South Campus were white campuses, and that blacks were simply not welcome there. That blacks had difficulty, those few who were enrolled at Kent and at South had a lot of difficulty there, that the professors there were insensitive to them and to their needs and that sort of thing. And of course, all you need is one or two people in the community spreading those kind of rumors, and then pretty soon it becomes almost a fact. It has taken quite a bit of legwork to try to dispel those rumors. One continuing problem is the FCCJ music group. I forget now what they call them, the FCCJ.
Corral?
Corral.
Corral? Uh-huh.
I'd always hear, why aren't there any blacks involved with that group? And yeah, I never could answer that, except the fact that there weren't really that many blacks at South Campus. But I knew that there were a lot of blacks at downtown campus who were interested in music. And the problem was that since music was centered at South Campus, then it kind of limited what could be done as far as music was concerned at the downtown campus. So, you know, I'm not sure that that problem has been resolved yet. Hopefully it will be. But that's one that I hear, quite often.
Why aren't there any blacks in the corral?
Mm-hmm. I think there may be one now.
And then the image of two campuses was black and the others are white.
And then, of course, the development of good programs that you've probably heard this one too. We use the North Campus as a laboratory to develop good and meaningful programs, and as soon as they have proven their worth, then they're pulled from the North Campus and sent to either Kent or the South Campus, and the North Campus is left with nothing, simply because it's a black campus. You hear those kinds of things.
From your perspective, what sort of, is there, I don't know how to ask this, there must be some truth in this, or is this a total misperception, or is there some truth to the charge that North Campus is mainly just an experimental place? I mean, how do these rumors get started?
I wish I knew. If I knew how they got started, then I'd have a pretty good idea on what to do to stop them. But I don't know. I think the way and it would only be speculation. Now, I think there are some people at North Campus who are genuinely interested in the development, the growth and development of the North Campus. And I think that when they see their good programs being moved from North Campus, and North Campus is always getting something new to experiment with, then they become concerned, and they don't simply hold that to themselves. They begin to talk it. And as they talk, eventually it becomes public gossip, and you hear it in the community.
Talk in a kind of disgruntled way?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Here we go again, sort of way. But I think we have to change that.
There's even been some speculation I hear. Again, it's even cropped up in this, and I'm not necessarily being critical of the union, but it's cropped up in the union paper that why don't we shut down North Campus? I'm a little concerned when
why don't we turn North Campus over to Duval School Board or something like that? I've heard that so many times, But if you
I think that'd be a mistake.
It would be. Oh, it would be a terrible mistake. Let me tell you something. Where the north side is concerned, you haven't seen anything yet. Now that bridge is open,
with this bridge now,
you wait. Just you wait.
Mm-hmm.
Just you wait. You will begin to see growth and development out there like nothing you've ever seen before. I hope it doesn't become another Mandarin, but there's a good chance that it could be.
I don't either. I live in Mandarin. Boy, that place is gone. Growth has gone out of sight.
It really
It's just tearing everything up. They put little strips everywhere. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad when I get home at night and get through all that mess, I can kind of retreat to my little acre, and at least I've got a little patch out there. So new growth is coming to the north side as a result of Thames Point.
Yes, it is. And the North Campus at Florida Community College is strategically situated to be able to take advantage of that. But we can't pool resources from the North Campus. We've got to begin thinking about adding resources to that campus to take care of that growth. And I don't think we can be caught in a position where we have not planned for some of that growth that's going to be taking place out there.
Yeah. Boy, I can't believe we've covered about all my questions here. Are you the first black chairman of a board of trustees? Can you share with us how that feels, or what?
I don't. You know what? I really don't know how it feels. And let me tell you why I say that. That's a terrible thing to say. In my brief lifetime, I have almost become accustomed to being the first black to do a lot of things. I was one of the first blacks ever to be involved in the space program. When I left
what
that,
you doing?
in the early 1950s, we were the forerunners to the astronauts. There were 7 of us who were involved with the space program out in New Mexico when we were trying to determine the effects of rapid acceleration and deceleration on the human body.
In the Air Force?
Mm-hmm. So I rode rocket sleds and flew high altitude balloons and rode centrifuge. Oh, yeah. I did all those crazy things.
Were you an officer in the Air Force?
No, I was not. I was an enlisted man.
You were enlisted?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did that as an enlisted man.
You were testing rockets?
Mm-hmm.
What?
But we were trying to determine what the astronauts, once they were selected, would have to undergo once we got into space travel. And,
did you volunteer for that?
Oh, yes. I didn't know that you weren't aware of that.
No.
Someone asked me see some of the experimentation that went on in the Catholic schools. And I brought in that newspaper thing up there. I brought in some of the books concerning that with some of the pictures in it. But this was well, of course you can see that I was quite a young man. Those are some of the pictures from it. Let's get the news. Yeah, here is the article that was in the magazine during that time. But look at the date on that thing.
Good Lord, you were in the service about the time I was.
Really?
Yeah, I was in 59, yeah.
That's the story that it relates to.
GI risk, this is a story about you. GI risk death 65 times for science. I hope they gave you promotion out of this all. Did you get it? What were you an E?
No, let me tell you something. No, let me tell you something. That was during the time when black enlisted people didn't get promoted that often. The promotions were very difficult to come by. But we did an awful lot of things out there that you wouldn't believe.
This is in the New Mexico desert?
Mm-hmm. Holloman Air Force Base in Alamogordo, New Mexico.
Where the atomic bomb was?
Yeah, we were not very far from the Los Alamos laboratory where the atomic bomb was tested. I'll make you a copy of that.
Yeah, do that. That'll save me.
So that you won't have to do all that right.
Yeah, I want to put that in right in the caption, right under your name, part of this. Leading into, if I can, well, I'll let you see it before I just send it back to you and let you check it. Boy, that's amazing. So after that, it's kind of anticlimax being on the board, or I mean, is that
no,
what you're saying?
It's not really anticlimax, but it's just that I've been the first black to do a lot of things. After I got out of service and came home, I was the first black to ever become executive director of the Anti-Poverty Agency here in Jacksonville. GJEO, it was called. And I can remember that the mayor of the city of Jacksonville made a statement that the city of Jacksonville was not ready for a black man to head an agency of that size and with that kind of budget.
Greater Jacksonville Economic Opportunity Council, or
Greater Jacksonville Economic Opportunity Incorporated.
Incorporated.
Yeah, it was.
You were the first director of that.
First black director.
First black director. So that kind of experience, was it kind of natural to appoint you, the first black for the, was it, you think that was taken into consideration?
No, I really don't. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I would hope that the reason I was appointed was because I was qualified to be chairman, and because I had shown some leadership abilities. I would hope that that was the reason. I would hope that there was no other reason.
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply, but I mean, this had leadership aspects to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what were you in the mayor's? Did you go from this position to the mayor's office, or after you were director?
Yeah, well, and it was from that position that I was awarded a fellowship, a Ford Foundation, Yale University National League of Cities Fellowship to attend Yale University in Urban Studies. And I did a one-year internship with Mayor Tansler, the same mayor who made that statement, by the way.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And after that year's internship, I left and went to Occidental College in Los Angeles and completed the requirements for a master's degree in urban studies. Upon completion of that degree program, I came back to Jacksonville and was immediately hired by Mayor Tansler as his administrative aide for community affairs.
He said Jacksonville was not ready to have a black as director of the JG,
of the Community Action Agency.
That was in the early 70s, or?
No, that was
or late 60s.
1968. The year was 1968. But you see, that shows you how people change and how they change their attitudes of you through exposure. He had an opportunity to be exposed to me and what I could do. And he wasn't hesitant at all about changing his attitude. And let me tell you something. That's one of the reasons why I believe so strongly that if we could expose young black children to the college atmosphere early on, they'll change their minds.
It's a matter of educating. I don't think it matters about the race so much, black, white. It's a matter of.
She's not in. Yes. Hey, yes. I'm okay. I'm in the middle of an interview. Okay. Excuse me.
Mayor Tansler was educated about you, and I think you can apply the analogy. If you can educate minority kids about what the college is about at an early age, I didn't realize. I'm learning here. I didn't realize FAME was going to the junior high levels. That's good. I've been over there on Saturday.
Well, FAME is primarily aimed at senior high, but my push was to get them to go just a little bit lower to junior high, because my feeling is, but my feeling is that if you wait until senior high, most of those kids have already gotten a mindset. And I've got a feeling that you're going to see them, even if they will only go to junior high, take a bus to a junior high school and bring those students on a college campus and just take them through and show them what it's like. I've got a feeling that that's what you're going to see begin to happen. But right now, they're concentrating on schools like William Raines and Ribault Senior High School. But let me tell you something. When you get to Ribault Junior High School and some of these other junior high schools that are predominantly black, if you can pick up those students at that point, you stand a good chance of not losing them.
Yeah.
But you can't wait until they get to senior high school.
Before I don't miss it here, you were, after you went with Yale to Yale with Tanzer, you came back and was appointed to what position?
Administrative assistant for community affairs. Yeah. There's not this down late. 50. Yes. Can you call me back in a minute? I might look. Could you please just call me back?
Alton, I've already grabbed more than my share of time. This is just wonderful. Let me do the same thing. Get this back, transcribe it, edit it, send it back to you, let you look at it, and then we'll be ready.
Okay.
Something I forgot to do with Tommy. I have to get, you may be aware of these things. I have to get these signed to use quoted material. So could I get your good name on this one? And
sure.
Would you mind passing that on to Tommy?
Sure. Okay, sign it.
I believe that ink pen of mine is running out. I don't.
Let me see if one of the FCCJ. No, this is Amelia Island.